Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. If you have not done so already, please continue to subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your family and friends, and help us continue to build this audience. We've had a really good run here in 2025 and not planning on it slowing down anytime soon, even though we're in the 5th month of the year and we are fully in the offseason for BYU football and basketball. The good news is the news keeps flowing in, and that brings us to the BYU basketball program. It was revealed yesterday. John Rothstein from CBS Sports announced the BYU. We already knew they were going to play in this. They're headed to Madison Square Garden for the Jimmy V Classic, which is a one-night affair. It features top teams in college basketball, and they're highly promoted and obviously shown on a national TV audience. Well, BYU found out they're going to play Clemson in that event out there in New York City. That'll be on December 9th, taking on the Tigers. It's a really big opportunity for BYU to make a national name for themselves in Madison Square Garden, which many can proclaim to be the world's most famous arena. Well, that's just one trip BYU's making here in the non-conference slate this coming season. We already know they're going to head to Las Vegas on November 3rd to open the season against Villanova. That is going to be an interesting game because there's a doubleheader with Florida and Arizona that night down there in Vegas. Then BYU's MTE, the mid-season tournament event that they'll participate in, is going to be in Orlando, Florida. They'll be playing two of Dayton, Georgetown, or Miami in that event down there in Orlando the week of Thanksgiving. They also have a road trip currently scheduled to go to Wyoming. I would say buy out of that game, but knowing BYU's penchant for making sure that they play nice with their friends in college sports, wouldn't surprise me if they make that trip to Laramie to take on the Wyoming Cowboys. And then yesterday, if you read Robbie McComb's piece, Robbie Bosco would know as well, but he wrote a really good piece talking about that sources have told him that BYU is in talks with several teams about a game in Boston where AJ Dybantsa would be playing in his hometown. There were outlets that reported it was UConn. According to Robbie, BYU is unlikely to play the Huskies in that event. The Huskies are actually going to be part of that doubleheader at Madison Square Garden, the Jimmy V Classic. But he said that BYU has plans to play maybe a team from the ACC, Big East, or the Atlantic 10 out there in Boston. They also want to potentially play a game against a big name opponent like North Carolina or Michigan in the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. Simply put, if you have plans to track BYU this season and travel with them out on the road in the non-conference slate and watch AJ Dybantsa, Richie Saunders, and the rest of the BYU Cougars play, you are going to be traveling a lot, and you better be able to have access to, like I said, to a lot of travel points, a private jet, or a mixture thereof. It's a big opportunity, and I think that Kevin Young is approaching this the right way. He wants to make sure his team is as prepared as they possibly can be to go into Big 12 play. Remember, he talked about the fact that BYU, with the cream puff schedule and non-conference they had this past year, it really didn't help them when they get started in Big 12 play, and they stumbled out of the gate. Remember, they were 2-4 at one point, 1-3. Ultimately, I think got back to 3-3, and then went on the run that they had as BYU made that run to the Sweet 16. But bit of a false start, and a big part of it, Kevin Young pointed to, was the fact that they got fat and happy playing against overmatched teams. Yes, there will be buy games, as they call them, money games, for opponents to come to the Marriott Center in this non-conference slate, but those will be interspersed around these big trips around the country. Kevin Young knows it's going to take his team understanding what it's going to take to succeed at the highest level possible if they want to achieve their goals, and that is to make a Final Four, to win a national championship. Well, guess what? You've got to play the best of the best out there, and the schedule, the non-conference slate so far, screams that's exactly what BYU is intending to do. I love the fact that Kevin Young is completely unabashed in saying we will play the best and brightest in college basketball. And yes, BYU will probably lose some of those games. That is just a simple fact of life. Because when you play that level of competition, it is going to come with L's on your record. But they are also going to get you more battle-tested, more battle-hardened. They're going to make the team better overall when it comes to Big 12 play, and most importantly, in March Madness, when the stakes, the pressure, everything gets ratcheted up to a whole another level than it was at any point during the regular season. Kevin Young wants to do some special things at BYU, and he knows he has to have his players ready to respond in many circumstances. Yes, those setbacks they may absorb in the non-conference this year, they will be better for it, speaking of the BYU basketball program, having gone through those L's, because they'll understand how tough it is to win at the level that they want to win at ultimately. It takes work. It takes effort. It takes you giving your all alongside the guys alongside you. And yes, AJ Dybantsa is considered to be one of the premier talents in college basketball this season. Richie Saunders is absolutely awesome. Robert Wright III. I could go down the list of the BYU roster right now. And we saw a highlight video of them yesterday playing basketball against one another in workouts. This is a team that knows that they have got monumental, absolute record type goals for BYU basketball to accomplish this year. And heck, they're going to chase them to the ends of the earth. And that's what it feels like. They're going to travel all across this country. They're going to go to the Eastern time zone 3 times. If they go to Boston, New York City, and Orlando in the non-conference slate, that's 3 trips back to the Eastern time zone. We have heard many times that traveling 2 time zones, it's an issue for programs and for athletes. Well, get used to it, BYU. You ready for those private jets and flying across the country and doing it on very little sleep as you get back into back to campus and get back to class and the like. But I think overall, BYU and Kevin Young have got a good strategic plan here to build out a schedule that will make them as good as they possibly can be, and obviously is going to test them. Kevin Young was not happy. I can vividly remember watching him talk about the non-conference slate last year, and you could tell he was just completely dissatisfied with it. And I completely understand why. This is a guy who came from the NBA, and even the worst teams in the NBA, they've got some dudes on those teams. Simply put, BYU played some teams last year who were absolute dogs. And I don't mean to come off as being rude to some of the bye games BYU had on the schedule last year, but some of those teams, just simply put, did not belong in the same court as BYU. Yes, they're competing at the best level they possibly can. And yes, they're collecting a really healthy check to come and play against BYU. But is it worth having BYU beat your brains in for 40 points? Because do anybody good in those games? I don't think so. It's kind of like the FCS game in college football for me. I think the FCS games are a waste of everybody's time, and they should be moved, whether it's to the end of spring ball or into training camp as a way to get ready for the upcoming season versus being a part of the regular season. It's a waste of a TV product in my mind, no matter if it's streaming or not. It doesn't work out in my mind. And I will 100 times out of 100 take what this non-conference slate for BYU basketball appears it's going to be over what they played the you know what they played last year. I love the fact they're going to play the Villanovas, the Clemsons out there. They're name brands that BYU fans and just lay college basketball fans will recognize. And obviously with AJ Dybantsa leading BYU basketball and his name recognition, there's going to be a lot of people tuned in to watch the BYU basketball program this year. And that's going to be a really, really fun thing to track as a member of the media. And obviously you out there in Cougar Nation as BYU fans. It's a fun season. And like I said, if you're planning on traveling, stock up those hotel room points, stock up your Sky Miles, and get out on the road and start booking your flights right now. It looks like it's going to be a well-traveled BYU basketball season upcoming.